to the unpredictability of Lexer's behavior, listener discretion is advised. The VoT Network presents the Voices of Terminus Show with your hosts, Yarnilla, Lexer, and Joshua.
Welcome everyone to the Voice of Terminus Show. We have obviously myself here. We have Josh here. Say hello, Josh.
Hello, Josh.
Say hello, Lexa.
Hi.
And today's show is a player Q&A. We're here to sit down with Mica. Say hello, Mica.
Hello, hello.
And chit-chat a little bit about Pantheon today and introduce Mica to the community and have some fun and see where these questions and answers go. So, Josh, shall we go and start it all off?
What do you want to ask me on? Okay. Mica, so give us some insight into your gaming background.
I've pretty much been gaming my entire life since I've been able to hold a controller. My mom used to use it as a babysitter. But when it comes to MMOs, I started in Final Fantasy XI probably around 2005-ish. So, and I've just been kind of tunnel visioning MMOs ever since, for the most part.
Very cool. Yeah. And do you mind sharing where in the world you are?
I am in Ohio in the United States.
Ohio.
Yep, Columbus,
I
Ohio.
am so sorry that you're close to me.
Is that the potato state?
No, that's Idaho.
Buckeye State.
Idaho.
Yeah. The Buckeye State.
I'm from Scotland, so I've got no clue.
This is the home of aviation.
Aviation, okay.
Because everyone wanted to go flying. So, Mica, when and where did you actually first hear about Pantheon?
I was actually, because after I left 11, I went to 14, and I started getting kind of bored in Final Fantasy 14, so I started exploring other MMOs, and I started seeing all this stuff. Like, I don't remember, it was actually a YouTube video, and I don't remember which one, but I started hearing all this stuff about Pantheon and how they're trying to, do that older school experience and everything, and that really appeals to me because I'm not a big fan of a lot of the really new stuff in MMOs. So I started paying more and more attention to it, and then it just kind of snowballed.
Okay, cool.
So after discovering Pantheon, everybody's going to do their research, their little reading around, surfing the internet for information. When you were done with your initial search, what were your thoughts on Pantheon?
That if it can actually bring back that thing that MMOs lost, it's going to be I think it's going to be beneficial to the MMO community as a whole.
Mm.
So it's just because MMOs really aren't even MMOs anymore. They're pretty much just co-op games. So if they can actually bring back the MMO, then that's gonna
hallelujah.
Yeah, you're preaching it, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
That's gonna just revitalize everything, just make it better.
Right. Now, it wouldn't be me if I didn't go off script. But what did you get excited to know that Brad was a part of Pantheon, or was it one of those things where it's like, oh, that's kind of neat?
I never played EverQuest, so I wasn't like a huge oh my god, Brad.
You weren't like Yarn and get like a 6-inch tattoo of his face on your chest.
No.
Hey, you were meant to tell nobody about that. Brad hasn't even seen it yet.
He's waiting for the perfect moment to be like,
It's like I knew like you know I associate him with EverQuest, and I hear EverQuest like so much about it, but since I was never an EverQuest player, I don't have that like fandom of him himself.
Understandable. Sadly, I'm probably one of the only EverQuest players out there that's kind of like, are you a Brad fan?
Yeah.
Well, let's get into some actual game questions. What is the race that you're most likely to play?
I'm all elf all the time.
For some reason, I just got this mentality of like getting all like West Side kind of freaking mentality.
Lex.
Like, elf, man.
Doesn't the hair reveal it to you already?
Why?
Huh?
He's not playing a dwarf.
No, but still, the long hair.
My
Outdoor wild elf style.
Yeah.
my social media though all says beard of a dwarf, soul of an elf.
Oh, there you have it. Nice. That's actually
I like that. So, do you think the way the races have been portrayed, I'm going to say in MMOs up to this point, that does it really matter what race you even play anymore?
I don't think it should. I think it's just like whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you want to play is what you should be able to play.
Mm.
Whatever I am on the inside is what I play on the outside.
Exactly. Go with your soul.
That's why I'm a Scar. I'm a terrible human being.
Yeah, I think you should be able to play, I mean, whatever you want to play. I would be it's like I just don't really enjoy playing a lot of other races. I'm elf in everything. The only thing I do not play elf in is Elder Scrolls because I think they look horrible. So, and then it kind of hurts me to have to roll something else. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when it comes to race, you know, we all like these unique abilities and racial features and kind of traits that they have. Do they mean anything in MMOs anymore to you? Would you like to see them in Pantheon even?
I think racial traits are good in a sense, just because, you know, I mean, there's going to be differences in physicality and stuff like that. But I also think those should make much more of an impact in the lower levels than they do in the upper levels. Because like people always use the whole argument of, well, a halfling isn't as strong as an ogre, so they shouldn't do as much damage as one. And it's like, well, that is entirely true. But at the same time, once you get that training and everything, once you get to that max level, that would be all those years of training, the halfling would learn to compensate, you know, for a lack of strength. So
I'm making a t-shirt that says all halflings compensate.
It's part of the race, but yeah, so it's just like, yeah. So I mean, I think they should play a big role, especially in the early stages. But I think as the higher you advance, the less important they should be.
Well, just adding on to what you're saying over there, I mean, you look at the ogre and the halfling scenario. The compensation should be where the halfling should be able to probably do an extra swing per round, so to speak, versus an ogre. So, and that should compensate for the damage per round that he does against what the ogre does.
Well, it's not just that as well. It's also, you know, the damage taken. An ogre is a larger target, so he's going to be easier to hit. So that means that the halfling will have a broader, swifter avoidance and dodge ability, and won't get hit as much because, you know,
Exactly.
you might just swing that axe just over the head.
Yeah, so that's definitely advantages of that.
Alright, so let's go and look at classes, Mica. What class do you plan to start with at launch?
Right now, I'm planning on an enchanter as my main, because I really like crowd control and I really like that whole thing that's behind it. But the more I do these class-specific videos, and the more I learn, I'm like, oh man, well, I'm definitely going to have an alt that's this and an alt that's that.
So we have a question later on, but that's regardless of it. But I've got to go and sidestep here now as well. With the whole approach that VR's taken towards the classes, because you said, like, you tend to play enchant or want to play enchanter and everything, and reading the lore on these classes and the way they are functioning. Are there classes archetypes that you tend not to play, and because of the way VR's approached it, you would like to have an alt for this and that and that? Has that played a part as well?
Well, generally the only thing I don't really play ever is tanks. And I don't foresee that actually changing just because I'm not a tank player. So, I mean, but generally, I mean, in every game I have alts and I have play pretty much everything but tanks. So, and it would take a lot to get me to switch to a tank. So.
Okay. But. So, let's say Pantheon's come out. It's been around a bit. With the classes we have now, what additional classes would you like to see after launch?
I actually would like to see something that we don't expect, something a little bit more creative, a little bit more unique. That, because everything we have right now is kind of like, it's almost like they're checking off the boxes. It's like, okay, we got the wizard, we got the, we got the rogue, we have, all this stuff. So I would kind of like to see them kind of surprise us with something that we probably haven't seen before. Do something really creative and fun and just kind of unique. I'm a big I'm big with class design. I'm really big on companies putting their own spin on things and companies having like their own vision and everything. I think it's great to have the standards, but I also think it's great to just kind of go off on your own little tangent and just do something that you want to do, and you don't necessarily have to follow different systems.
You're absolutely right, because it does feel like that there's this unwritten law within class design that you have to stick to. That's the sense that everybody gets.
Kind of like all elves need pointy ears.
Yeah, it's like
they do. That's part of who we are.
It's one more thing to cut off.
And it does take guts, and and it can sometimes be a risk to go and add those little twists on it. But I think for us, especially the people in our age group, we've been around games and playing games and and fans of fantasy for so long that it's like, there has to be something different. Evolve the races, and a prime example is the gnomes in Pantheon. If you look at the gnomes in every other game, they have that glorified garden gnome vibe. Yeah, exactly. And now you've got these space elements, these space beings that have kind of found a higher existence, a new plane of life to exist without body and soul. And it's like, wow, that's a different twist. I never thought this could happen.
Yeah, I mean, you can keep it in the whole fantasy element too. Like, I would love to see a good battle mage, or someone who does magic and melee or something. I'd like to see like a spell singer. Yeah. Something. Like a bard that's kind of like merge a bard and a wizard together. Yeah. Something that's a little bit more fun. Something that's like, just not just a staff wielding, cloth armor wearing wizard. Something that's I haven't seen before. Yeah. Or even if it's something I have seen before, something that has their own
unique twist on.
I mean, it's the newsletter, for instance, the recent one. They introduced the Torn Elves, I think is what they're called. I was like, wow, that's like a complete different. They have such a dark visual appeal to them. You know, they look like, right, I'm going to say it, people are going to bash on me for this, but anybody ever seen Stargate Atlantis?
Yeah.
They look like the Wraith.
Yeah.
The mask that they're wearing. And it's like, you know, wow, this is like, whoa, this is scary. You know, they really have a really scary, dark appeal to them, and I think that's great. You know, because elves are always generalized in as goody two shoes and arrogant, and you know, we're too good for everybody else. Nobody's as smart as us, but they're always still, you know, nice and decent in the common.
Your typical elf is someone you just want to punch in the face. The Torn elves was like, now there's an elf I can get behind.
Yeah.
and maybe second guess myself before I slit his throat.
Or even
could be a friend.
Mica, out of all the races that you have seen so far being introduced by Pantheon, which ones do you like the most? Because they all seem to have a unique spin on them.
Yeah, I really, and going back, I really like what they did with the gnome. I thought that was just a really fun thing that they did. I mean, because I always pictured gnomes as like those little, like, earthy, underground dwelling rock, you know, kind of like the Dungeons and Dragons version.
These aren't gnomes, they're space gnomes.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to trademark that term, you know.
Space gnome.
So I like the whole, and like with the like the Archai. I like the more unique races that they did. The gnome, the Archai, the Dark Mirror. You know, I think that's what I'm talking about with classes. I like that whole having their own spin on things, their own, you know, vision.
Dark Mirror aren't unique, they're just tadpoles.
Hey, no bashing on the Dark Mirror.
Everybody needs to have a good Friday night fish fry, and that's why the Dark Mirror is.
I kind of got the impression that they kind of like used both sea elves and dark elves and kind of like mushed them together and made the Dark Mirror. I
just want to quickly address chat as well. The questions you guys are throwing in the chat, we will grab them towards the end of the show to ask our guest and get his take on it. So don't worry, your questions aren't going unanswered, even though Shai's not here to take care of that. We will do our best to grab those questions.
She says enough's enough. I'm going on vacation from these a-holes.
Yeah. So we'll grab those questions.
I'm surprised she didn't come back for me. I mean, come on.
That's true.
I totally agree.
But she tried to get so far away, she just couldn't make it back in time.
Yeah.
She must be an elf hater too.
I don't think so, because I think her race is actually between elf and
something else.
Halfling, maybe?
Yeah, I think she's debating. Elf is definitely a choice of hers. She's still debating it though, so.
Yeah. I actually have a shirt that says "Kiss me, I'm Elvish."
Nice. I have ones, but they're a lot more vulgar than that. A little offensive, but that's why I like them. But, you know, speaking of the newsletter, in the newsletter they've been revealing some very interesting characters. And I'm curious, what's the character that has been the most intriguing for you?
Surprisingly enough, not an elf. It was the Archai Maiden, the Mage Mother, I think. Bel Iris, or something like that was her name. That whole where she had that whole really ethereal quality and kind of just like travels around, and like some people think she's a myth and some people like she just stands out. I really liked that read. I thought that was really interesting. They could do so much with that character with just what they've already established in that little bit that they gave us.
Yeah.
So, it's Archai. I'm sure people were gonna put money on the fact that I was gonna choose an elf, but nope, an Archai.
There you have it, folks.
I mean, it's pretty easy for me. It's like, who would you pick? Really? You're really asking me this question?
Right. So, do you think lore should impact the game playability? I.e., a story of the guild, the guides, the PC towards the end game?
Like they should lead, kind of handhold you all the way to endgame?
Yeah, exactly. Do you think that's even something that should impact it?
I think definitely lore should play a part in endgame, because otherwise, why are you doing that endgame? You know, to me, endgame's got to be more for than just a sword. I like stories leading up to it and everything. And if they could take you on an interesting journey beforehand, before you do that actual content, then I just think it makes the content better. But I'm a big lore guy, so
and it kind of and it also adds to your own little story as well, because we all tend to do it unrecognized or unknowingly and knowingly. We all tend to do some form of storytelling and RPing when we're playing these games. So and that just adds to it as well. I used to try and do little stories in EverQuest 2 where I would record an epic battle and like kind of tell a story of how we came to go and do this battle, just because the lore and the whole thing intrigued me to do something like that. And there's tons of videos out there where people do this stuff, so and that just adds to it as well when you can get immersed into it and kind of create your own little story to tell.
Yeah, I mean, if they just say here's a dungeon, I'm just kind of like, so
yeah.
Why am I running this dungeon? Why was my character even here? Sort of thing. It's like,
pretty sure my character doesn't know that there's just a chest upgrade in this dungeon. Give my character a reason to go there.
It's like this is my character. You want to know what? This is my character. My character is going to be at their house, kicked back up on a chair, unless you give me a reason to travel across the world to go to that dungeon.
Yeah. Not just like get there and then just run through it and why did I even go in here? Is there anything here? Let's go look at mechanics now. Pantheon mechanics, and do you feel the current mechanics will enhance Pantheon or limit Pantheon in the long run? Now, how do you see them working together? Like, for instance, the environmental system, the weather system, perception, all this all together.
I think it's going to depend on how they are implemented, because they could be a great boon or a great bane depending on how they put them in. I think as far as the way they work together, like when it comes to the perception system, if the perception system leads me to go to somewhere and I have to do something, if I can't get there because I'm not acclimated to the cold, that's gonna be irritating. I don't think they should make them an artificial roadblock. If they make them interesting, I think they could be really great. But if they're just artificial roadblocks, then it's going to be just something people are going to begrudgingly do. Yeah. And begrudgingly deal with.
I'm only doing it because I have to.
Yeah. I like the fact that they said weather is going to play a part. I think they were talking about how weather is going to play a part, especially like in spellcasting, because I know some of the like lightning will do more damage if they're wet and stuff like that. I like that aspect. We had that in Final Fantasy XI where everything affected everything. And I think that adds an element to the gameplay that I really miss that now.
Well,
it's not there.
It kind of adds to the challenge as well. You're not just playing against the environment on a PvE server or playing against other players in a PvP server. You've now got the weather that's going to be playing a major part on what happens when you're currently in battle or doing something in the world, and that goes with the climate and acclimation system as well. So you're always going to have to be on your toes. You're now actually, like Brad said, bringing the environment back into the PvE of it all. Where the environment actually has an impact on you. And I think that's a good thing. As long as it's, like you said, not an artificial, this is part of it so that we kind of have this challenge there because we don't have any other way to do it, then, I could foresee that being a great system to have. And, you're always going to be looking around you when you're doing something, especially PvP. That is the only reason I would want to try out PvP. Is to see how, because I'm not a PvPer. I don't like PvP, never have, it's one of those things, I just can't get into it. I'm too old, I can't deal with it, too slow to react. But that would get me into it to try it, just to see how the weather affects the combat as well. because it's kind of like a balancing act. It can balance that whole PvP situation out. It can make it an even battle when it where it technically shouldn't be, for instance.
For some reason, I just picture a mage or a wizard casting its raining. He's casting a lightning bolt, and there's a 5% chance that it electrocutes him.
Exactly. There you have it.
Yeah.
Even if we're in a group, I would die laughing.
Yeah, no. Or he starts off like trying to do a fireball, and all of a sudden it just showers down rain, and his hands. All you see now is like fizzles away. You see this smoke just fizzling away.
I'm like, oh, poor magic caster.
So, out of the mechanics that have been introduced and talked about, speculated on, which one has you excited the most?
Probably the perception system, just because it seems like it's gonna add an element of lore, which of course I really like, and it just, I mean, from everything I understand about it, it's just gonna it's gonna be different. It's not like, because with me, I'm an altaholic. I'll have a bunch of different alts, and I'm not gonna have to do the same thing every single time. It sounds like there's gonna be something a little bit different with it.
Yeah, that's the one thing as well that's really exciting to hear. With Pantheon and everything, the whole world being dynamic and actually trying to want to create this world. Creating alts doesn't become a means, to pass time and have something on order to call upon, and you don't necessarily go rushing through the content. In most MMOs, you surpass everything that's in the lower levels just to get caught up to the higher level. But with the world being dynamic and things happening and changing, and maybe at one point you got at the lower levels you got a quest during the day from this NPC, but he now also has you have the option to do it in the night. You might decide this time to go and say, right, I did this quest with my main during the day. I want to see how things work out when I do this during the night. So you make different choices. So your adventure's always going to be slightly different. It's not going to be the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, because like with me, like with all my alts, I mean, it gets to the point where I just start skipping stuff, and I don't like doing that.
Yeah,
I like I like being immersed.
Definitely.
That's probably one of the reasons why I don't make many alts. It's like I just don't want to do the same crap over and over.
Yeah, exactly.
I have 6 characters on Final Fantasy 14. You know how boring that is?
Yes, I do, because honestly, I don't even think I got to level 20 in Final Fantasy. Well, 11 was the first online one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That one I got pretty far in, and I even look back now going, how did I manage to stay with this game that long?
Well, I was with that game for 7-8 years. So
yeah, it's one of those.
I think I played for about a year.
It seems to be one of those things that MMO developers in common have an issue with. How to engage people in the replayability of their game, and how to make it so that it doesn't seem like it's a means to an end just to get you through to that agonizing area of endgame. And it's also going to be a tough challenge though for VR going forward when people do reach the end of the expansion or the end of the main game and waiting for the next expansion to come on, to carry on that torch of keeping it dynamic, because a lot of time and effort goes into the whole development of doing something like that when you want to keep people engaged again and again, so that every time they get there it doesn't feel the same.
Well, I do think that Star Wars had a bit of good sense that each class, I think, had its own path of quests to deal with throughout all the way out type thing. And similarly, I mean, if you're class-based, you get unique quests for that class.
Yeah.
If if you are race-based, you can get unique quests for that race itself. And that way they can keep it fresh.
Yeah.
And also limiting the amount of quests. Don't make quests because for the hell of it, like kill 10 rats or whatever. Who the hell cares about that rubbish? Yeah. Just give us something else, you know?
Yeah, definitely. You know, having that class and racial storyline, we'll say storyline for you throughout your adventure. You know, that should be something that keeps you there. You know, rather than having like you reach max level, the expansion comes out. Now you get the last 10 spells. You can now go and repeat and get the upgraded one. You know, add a quest in there like that teaches us maybe how to utilize and gain the knowledge to actually yield further powerful spell upgrades and stuff like that, to kind of give you something to do. Yeah, so that's
yeah, and you don't even have to wait till end game. I think there should be mid game.
Oh yeah,
and early game too. I don't think everything should be sequestered to max level.
No, definitely not.
In EverQuest 2, what was the main quest line that everybody loved? That was getting your epic weapon. Yeah. That was uniquely based around your specific class. So yeah, definitely.
Yep.
I mean, even with early levels, if they're going to split us up into, different regions based on our race, I mean, you could have the same sort of like early game, end game, I guess would be the best way to put it, but just kind of make it like based. I mean, it could be the exact same thing, just give it the actual aesthetics of that area.
Yeah.
And so I mean, that is for people who have a bunch of alts and play different races, it would kind of be similar, but it would shake things up a little bit and kind of make it a little unique, just visually.
I mean, it's one of those things that we all missed. I mean, at least for me, I don't know about you, Josh, but remember in EverQuest 2 when we had you reached level 20, you got that personalized armor quest.
Yes.
That got scrapped out of the game completely, and it's like, that's another thing they could implement. They could implement like personalized armor quests, sporadically. Every, God knows, 20, 25, 30 levels or something like that, where you have the chance to get this unique, personalized armor for your class that you can then, modify and this, that, and the other. It's like those are the small things that kind of have gone missing in these games nowadays.
Exactly.
Just like class-specific gear.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Or stats that matter.
Yeah. Don't give me 2 stats and then I've got like 7.
That's a 4-hour read right there. Specifically targeting EQ too. But moving on, let's get into some crafting. Mica, what do you think is the purpose of crafting in an MMO? And more specifically, where do you think it should be in Pantheon?
See, now this is where I'm gonna get hate mail because I don't think crafting.
I can share some with you.
I don't think crafting should ever give you top tier gear. I think it should be stepping stone gear at best, and that's when it comes to gear. I do think, like if they have a good housing system and stuff like that, I think that should be like really where crafters shine. I know it's hard to describe. Just because, and I have this whole thing with crafting because I'm a crafter. It's like I do it. Like in 11, I was in. I made millions of Geo crafting. Same with 14. But at the same time, you always have just a small handful of people, and they dictate prices and everything for like the whole server, the whole community, and then I don't know. I'd much rather, when it comes to battle gear, I'd much rather earn it through battle.
Mm-hmm.
I think crafting should be kind of, I just don't think it should be top tier.
Okay. So we've already kind of talked about this next question off the air, but we're going to ask. Crafting seems like it's a very crafting in games has been like it's had a solo approach to it in most parts of it. Do you feel like that's the best approach when it comes to the design, or do you think crafting needs to change and add in like group dynamics? We've already talked about this with your experiences with Final Fantasy XIV, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, I think people being able to contribute things like we were talking about earlier, where you have like some people have to like give ingots and wood planks and stuff like that. I think that is fine, but when you actually have to get like a party together to actually build one thing, I think it becomes very tricky. Because that like, I mean, it will have a lot of, it will draw a lot of people in the beginning, but the further along you get in time, the harder and harder it's going to be to get people to actually do that stuff.
Yeah.
So then, again, it's going to be regulated to a really small portion of the community, and it's going to be like harder and harder to get these things, and especially if it is very much like a what's the word I'm looking for? If it creates essential gear or essential items, that it gets really tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, because suddenly another crafter has leverage over you.
Yeah. And not only the crafter, but like a group of them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, when something gets messed up, it's like, my God.
I think it's a good way to do a group crafting, like where everybody has to get together, is like maybe like if you're making something that's on a grand scale, like they could do it with guild housing, or they could do it with like ships or something like that, if they're going to have like actual ships in. I think that would make it a little bit more intriguing, because of course you're going to have 5-6 people work on a huge tower or something like that. But
definitely,
I think just for like a coat, it's like, why do we so
I agree. If you're going to have that group crafting aspect, it has to be for things that are going to benefit the city or the town on a grand scale, not just for your individual purpose.
What about I don't know which game's done. I know EverQuest 2 has done it, but the mass crafting, for instance. You could skill up through the AA tree. You could have that mass crafting where you could basically
the mass crafting.
Yeah, you basically click once and you've designed 100 bags or 100 coats and everything. I could see group crafting in that sense become a thing where if you want the ability to like make a stack of these in one go, you would have like 5 tailors group up with you to do that task, to make a stack of them, and then you would split them up evenly amongst each other. So essentially, instead of me making one coat or one bag, I've now made a stack of 20, and we all get 4 bags out of it. That's why I could see it maybe kind of making sense to do, to kind of like speed up the whole craft, because I don't want to have a spell or a way to skill myself that I can now magically, for some unknown reason, I can make 100 bags by just doing one craft process. It's unrealistic. It makes no sense. It's like you're trying to push the norm and make it way too easy on us. I don't want it to be too easy for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be too easy, but it shouldn't be like over the top difficult either.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, obviously.
I mean, you could even rent NPCs as an example. So you have crafting in areas where you got all the tables and everything. Instead of having it thoroughly through other players, you could maybe rent NPCs to help you do that, and then you obviously could add in that challenge of trying to counteract some of the mistakes that are being made during the crafting process, like a mini game. So that's a kind of way of optionizing it out, so you could do it with fellow guildies or people within the world. But you could also maybe rent yourself an additional crafter or two or whatever to speed up this process for you to make these 5 chairs that somebody's ordered or these 5 bags that somebody wants.
Is it just me, or was anyone else waiting for Yarn to say "rent me out"?
I will say in
Like,
Final
work that Kono, baby.
In Final Fantasy XIV, we have retainers, and you can get them. You can set them as gathering classes to go out and gather for you, and that is amazing.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, we love that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, sure, I could go out and gather probably 300 pieces in an hour, and they can only get 20. But you want to know what? That's a nice little cushion of materials they can get for me.
Like the pack pony and the goblin in EverQuest 2.
Yeah. I'd actually love to see that actually happen, where you'd be in the world and you saw something harvesting over there, and that's such and such as goblin harvesting, away from everybody. So they just NPCs around in the world just doing their thing, gathering over there, but actually seeing that visual.
Yeah, even if it was completely artificial.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd still be really neat.
Yeah, definitely. That would look pretty cool. It kind of adds to that immersion and making the world feel alive when you see these player or these guild NPCs running around gathering wood and stuff like that. But anyway, let's go in there.
It'd be especially good in starting zones where, like, after a while, nobody's in them.
Yeah,
right.
It'd be great to have those NPCs. It'd be really great for new players too, because then it'd feel more populated.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I can see it. You see it now. You see these new players, new to MMOs in general, run up to this they assume player, and they're trying to hail him and talk to him and whisper to him. It's like, why is this dude not answering me?
And then they're calling a GM, and they're just like, "There's a bot out here.
Yeah,
there's an RMT bot out here."
Anyway, so if you do craft, what professions do you tend to go for and why?
I do a lot of goldsmithing. I always like the goldsmithing aspect, and I always end up being a woodworker for some reason, and I don't know why. But
you're an elf.
Yeah, you're an elf. You're a ranger. So you make arrows.
Yeah, there you have it. We figured it out for you, Mike.
You've been figured out.
Yeah, but it's just like, yeah, those are the things I always want to do. Alchemy, like I'm always just like in all games, I'm like, I want to do alchemy, but there's so few games that actually have alchemy as being a crafting job that actually is worth leveling. Usually, alchemy kind of just falls to the side. So,
yeah. Now, do you happen to stream or have a YouTube channel that people might be able to watch after they've finally discovered the magnificence that is Mica?
I do. I have a YouTube channel where I make videos. I'm not streaming right now. I used to stream quite often. I used to actually every day, but I had to quit when I was finishing school. So I want to do it again. It's just actually getting the oomph to do it again, because streaming is actually a lot more work than people probably think.
Yeah.
So
it sure is.
You're preaching it, brother.
I streamed for 3 years, and then I was like, you know what? I'm done for now.
Yeah, this is what we're doing here. It might look easy, but hell it ain't.
Yeah, you got to stay engaged, and there's sometimes I'm just like, you want to what? I just want to sit here and craft, or I just want to putz around, and
Or you die, and you're like, I just want to sit here and cry, but I'm on camera, so I can't.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I've got to stay neutral.
Yeah, it's always like, depending on the game as well. I remember starting off streaming with Landmark, right? And Landmark, you're so fixated on what you're doing in the game because it's a creative game. You're building, you're trying to concentrate, do the math and everything. And I would ignore chat for 20 minutes and then look on my screen, see chat. And that's something that annoyed chat, for instance. And it took me a very long time to kind of...
it was annoying.
kind of get into. Shut up, Lexa. Kind of,
I go there to try to support my friend.
Try and learn
to engage with
react.
Him. 30 minutes later, and he finally answers the question. I'm gone.
But it's like it's not easy to do, and especially with games like that where you're sitting there, you're really concentrating on getting this correct and moving that into position. Is like, oh my word. Sometimes the game doesn't help. Sometimes you've got no other choice to seem that you're ignoring chat, Lexa.
Well, there's also when I was streaming, I did like a lot of Final Fantasies because I had a lot of people request me to do Final Fantasies. So I did like Final Fantasy 4 and 6 and 9 and 10 and all those. And that's really hard because just the running around in a circle leveling aspect of it. And you're like trying to keep everybody engaged at the same time you're just running in a circle, basically.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah. I mean, I think it would be fun to stream, especially with Pantheon, but it also depends on how active you are in the game. I mean, in the beginning, obviously, you're going to be really active, but, if it's just running in a circle, that just makes it hard to do.
Yeah. So
I look at running in a circle, and because when I streamed, I had a prank system, that just gives me horrific flashbacks when people would disable my keyboard. Because you press the movement key, they disable it, the key still thinks it's down, you're like, hands off, and you're just running in a circle.
That's good. That's fun. Will you actually be streaming Pantheon in Mica?
Pantheon I probably will in the beginning. And then we'll just kind of go with it from there and see how engaging it is on a visual aspect.
Yeah.
Because MMOs are,
they're difficult.
Yeah.
You missed the question, Josh!
No, he already answered it by talking on the first one. So I'm not going to repeat it.
So pay attention there, Mr. Host.
Hey, quiet you.
Never. I'll be quiet when I'm dead.
Let's go and have a look at some of the Pantheon design. Alright?
Yeah.
Going
I'm
forward.
opinionated on Pantheon design.
So how do you think Pantheon should evolve over time? Like, have cities expand, regions expand, have, upgrades added to them. What would you like to see?
Well, I'm always a fan of adding new lands, like sailing across the ocean and getting new continent and stuff like that, because then you can get new culture and you can get all kinds of new stuff in. But I really hope they don't ignore the old zones.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big mistake MMOs make, is they ignore what's already there. It's like I would like them to, maybe expand the world, but not just expand it locally too. Like, we can't necessarily go here at this point on the, in the story, but in our next expansion, maybe that zone will be open. Something like that.
Yeah.
So Lex,
that takes care of the next question.
Yeah, exactly. That takes care of the next one.
Are we cool?
We're cool, buddy. We're cool, buddy.
Okay, just making sure. So mobs are pretty generic objects in an MMO, especially these days. What type of designs would you like to see that could possibly separate the mobs from Pantheon from every other generic POS MMO?
POS.
Point of sales? Is that point of sales?
Yes. That's exactly what
he said, everybody.
Yes.
Point of sales, MMO.
Yeah, as far as you're well, that's technically true too, because all they care about is sales.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's good to have staples, in there. But I think it all depends on their creativity they have. Maybe go to the zoo and walk around and be like, hey, we don't see that in the game ever. Why don't we do something fun with this?
That brings you an idea. A halfling zoo for Lexa, where you can go.
Of course, if I was a game developer and I was hearing that comment, I would have been like, let's add Ted the zookeeper to this zone. just to be an ass.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, I think so. When I was going to school for design, the big thing that they always told us was stop looking around you and just doing the exact same thing you see. Like take it to that next level. Think outside the box and kind of push yourself there.
Yeah.
I can think of at least 4 studios that should take that advice on everything they've made in the last year.
Yeah.
Oh, totally agree.
Definitely.
Because so many games are especially, it's been 30-40 years that games have been really popular, and it's just like we're seeing so much of the same things over and over again. It's like start thinking outside that box. And it's just or even put your own twist on something, like
money talks, have done it, at the end of the day.
Money talks if you're an idiot.
Because look at the whole Blizzard and the World of Warcraft release. Nobody put a twist on things. They changed some minor things or left some stuff out, but all these these clones of WoW, it was all about money at the end of the day. How can we make money quick and easy, rather than, like Mica said, add that twist, have your own thoughts, take something and just see if you can change it a bit.
I think that would actually make them more money. I think if they had a unique vision, I think if they brought something new to the table, if it's done well, that's gonna draw people in. That's gonna make that money.
Yeah, because most of the time, what they see is they see the short-term winnings, but they don't see the long-term outcome. It's like the prime example for me. This is real life experience right now. Before I took over the video shop that I was that I had for a couple of years, they basically said basically we've got 2 options now to purchase a website with online rentals and reservations and everything. One's really, really cheap and it looks cheap, but one's really interactive and looks flashy. I said, look, go for the one that's going to cost you double the amount, because in the long run it's going to pay its dividends, rather than having the cheap one and later on biting yourself in the ass because, hey, you fixed the situation you want to address and you've put it online, but people are going to be pretty annoyed with it and unhappy with it in the shortcomings. It's kind of like that. Always look at the long-term goals, how it's going to look work for you long-term rather than short-term. It's like selling stuff. I could sell you 1,000 pieces for $1, or I can sell you 10 pieces for $10. You got to weigh it.
I think one thing studios should start doing too is start looking at their player base more. Run contests on creature design, on gear design, on class design, stuff like that. Because look at all, especially with Dungeons and Dragons, look at all the fantastic stuff that comes out of homebrew. All the good homebrew stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's like
an untapped resource.
Yeah, it's like
and it's free.
It's free, and just say, oh, we'll just give you a credit. As like a design credit for this piece and stuff like that. I think that's a huge untapped resource.
It definitely is, but I see the main problem for that, especially for the Western companies based in the US. And like you just said, you say you get credit, or we'll give you a T-shirt, or you'll get 3 months of game time free, or whatever. That should suffice, law-wise, technically. But there's so many loopholes and crazy lawyers out there that will try and find a way for you to sue the company and twist it in a way, and that's why some of these resources go untapped. But it is a great idea, and you're right. They should try and utilize that, and there are get your lawyers to look into that stuff more deeper. So that you can actually
I would gladly do a ransom video with a newspaper and just say to the camera that this is what I gave to them. I do not want it, and I want no compensation.
Oh, what do you call 50 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean?
Yeah, but then you'll find some crazy lawyer, buddy.
Good start.
You'll find some crazy lawyer that will say when he did that video, he was under strong medication. His wife had a gun to his head doing that. Blah blah. Blah. They'll come up with some crazy stuff.
Hey, what I do in the privacy of my bedroom is not their business.
You know what it is.
All I would say is I have some really fantastic class ideas because I'm so sick of playing the same classes over again that I will just give them to VR if they want them. And I mean, because
I mean, we've definitely also done a few class videos as well, and would love these type of things to be picked up by them as well. I guess they have their own design and their own people there to think of these things.
Yeah, it goes back just the whole stop limiting yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just talking with someone with Bard classes, and I'm just like, why does Bard always have to be a buffer and a deep buffer?
Yeah.
Why can't we? I mean, we can wiggle our fingers and throw a fireball. Why can't we play a harp and do the same thing?
Why can't have you like everybody out there and here as well? Have you ever been hit with a freaking guitar on the back of your head?
Not on the back of my head, but I have.
Hurts like hell.
Sure does, unless it's an acoustic.
And if you ever had a flute stuck up your...
Hey, we're not there. I have to censor that. You have to censor that. So,
But why did Josh say that one? It should have came out of my mouth.
I know, it's like when did you guys
I'm being a
change consciousness?
I like it. Just me being a bad influence, so.
So, Josh, bring us along.
Fair enough.
I think it was a trap.
It's a trap! Which class and race is your least favorite? And if you had a choice, if you had to choose to play one of them, which would you pick and why?
Well, I'm kind of. This game's kind of thrown me off my loop a little bit when it comes to my disliking of races, because I generally dislike the small races, like the halfling types, but generally the reason I don't like them is because companies have a tendency to make them very cutesy.
Yeah.
And that just yuck. But the halflings, they don't seem to be going in that route. So I'm like, why? I feel like I should dislike them, but I don't.
Why are they attracting me so much?
So I think when it comes to that, it actually probably be human, because it's just boring.
Well, actually, I'm going to say it now, Mica. That is something an elf would typically say, though. So,
hey, when he was talking about it, in the back of my head, all I could, when he said human, I was like, boring.
Exactly.
So, when it comes to classes, I think probably my least one is probably Paladin.
Preach it.
And it's just because they're so holier than thou and like self-righteous that it's like, I know I'm just gonna want to punch you in the face.
I knew there was a reason.
Yes, Mike. So, on that, which would you choose, though?
Oh, I would take a human over a paladin any day. I'd rather be boring than self-righteous D-bag.
Pray to your God without any teeth, paladin.
What did you say, Lexa? I hate all paladins?
Damn right.
Are you planning on upgrading or buying a new system for Pantheon?
It depends on how long it takes for them to release it. My system's relatively new right now, so I mean the only thing I could really do is upgrade to a 2080 Ti. I mean everything else is pretty high on the higher end.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, why do we ask that question? I don't know. It's just a tendency.
Because there are people that whenever the game that they are super excited about comes out, they build a whole new system just for it.
I did that in 2010 with the original release of Final Fantasy 14. I built a whole new system because I was just like.
But then you have
Mica's from the future, guys.
Yeah, but then
he said 2010. He's from the 20th millennium.
But then you have people out there though, like me, who upgrade their system so they can do this stuff. Forget gaming.
I upgrade my system just so I don't get blue screens.
Exactly.
So if you could talk to a VR dev, which would you pick and why?
I would, and I'm bad with names, so I don't know names, but it would...
The guy with the face.
Yeah. It would go back... I would really want to sit in with the class design people, because I keep focusing on that, but I think that's the one spot they haven't been super creative in. And I would just like to be like, like, what's something else you could do? Like, like run things by me. Like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing something a little bit fun, a little bit different, a little bit, that's not just the standard. I mean, because everything else they seem to be doing, such fun, creative stuff with. I just want to know. I would just like to be interested in why, when it comes to classes, they're being so. Like everything else,
you gotta get like a Latina attitude and be like, "Why are you so stupid?"
Yeah, we'll have to get Mica to do that for us. Record yourself, go, "Why are you so stupid?" And we'll put that in as something we bring up every now and then.
Whenever there's something we don't like.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go, buddy. So let's go and look at classic WoW for a moment, because this has been a hot debate and is part of a general discussion in not just for Pantheon but for MMOs that are trying to achieve that go back to the glory days. Do you think classic WoW, having it been released and everything, will have an impact or any impact on Pantheon at all, be it positive or negative, as people are presuming it will?
I think it possibly could be. I think so. Classic WoW, I think, is doing as well as it is because it's WoW. It's that name recognition, and it's drawing people in. Now, I'm only level 10 in Classic WoW because I've been kind of ignoring it. But if it forces people to group together, if it gives them a taste of that difficulty that was, part of the older MMO, and the forcing people to group up together, I think that could be beneficial for Pantheon. Just because it's not going to be such a shock to the system. Yeah. Then when it comes out. Yeah. Because without that name recognition, if someone logs in and starts playing it, they're more likely just to be like, nope, I'm not gonna do this. It's too hard. It's too whatever. Yada yada yada. If that's the first time they've ever experienced something like that. But with WoW, they have that name recognition. They want to play WoW, so it's going to kind of ease them into that, less hand-holding, aspect.
I think the whole WoW thing is, or this classic WoW is just one big major scientific test for Blizzard to show how stupid humans are. That they just go run back to and feed in the same trough as they did years ago, forgetting how things went and how bad it got at some point. And then people after 2 to 3 weeks going, "Oh yeah, this is the same crap that we were dealing with back then. So why are we playing it again?" That's that mentality of people. It's so weird. Anyway, that's my ramblings on that.
Yeah,
as someone who never played WoW, I'm kind of like, I'm kind of enjoying it because it's just kind of like, it's new to me. It's like if they brought out Final Fantasy 11 Classic, probably wouldn't enjoy it as much. Even though I love 11. Yeah. But yeah, it allows me to see WoW when WoW was apparently good. So.
Anything to add, Lex, or do we now go into the lightning round?
Well, I'm just going to say that I shun Classic WoW simply because I have fond memories of my days playing it, all the way up to Lich King. Well, halfway through Lich King. That's where my fond memories stop, but I refuse to go back and have my fond memories destroyed like what happened with EverQuest and the TLP servers. That's the way it is.
Right, so this is something we've never done before. I thought, hey, anytime better than now to do it, let's go for it. So we've got a lightning round, Mica. And, you don't think about it. The first choice that comes in your head, answer it, right? There's a couple of questions. They're really short. It's basically yellow or blue, black or white, green and orange, stuff like that. Go for it. This is also, for everybody in chat though, real quick, this is also an experiment to see if I can influence the question of questions. So
the right answer for every question is Lexer.
All right. So yes, sir. Kick it off. Boxers or briefs?
Boxers.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Girls or boys?
Depends on the aspect.
Black or white?
Black.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Sandals or tennis shoes?
Sandals.
Liverpool or Manchester?
Don't know, never been either place.
Sacred or Ronic?
What was that?
Sacred or Ronic?
Runic.
Toast or pancakes?
Toast.
Pasta or pizza?
Pizza.
Eat in or eat out?
Eat in.
DVD or Blu-ray?
I don't know, I don't watch either. Blu-ray.
Samsung or Apple?
Samsung.
Chopper or Brad?
Choppa.
Crafting or adventuring?
Adventuring.
Cheese or jam?
Jam.
Beard or moustache?
Beard.
Shorts or t-shirt?
Shorts.
Kilson or brass?
Brass.
Yanilla or Alexa?
What?
Yanilla or Alexa?
Yarnilla.
Joshua or Alexa?
Oh, what the hell? I was gonna say, lightning round over.
Joshua or Alexa?
Joshua.
Yes!
Yanilla or
Screw you too,
Joshua?
Micah.
Yanilla or Joshua?
What?
Yanilla or Joshua?
Yarnilla. Sorry.
Oh, God.
I need to bite my tongue. This is going to turn into a Cards Against Humanity show.
Hey, Yarn have talked a lot of. We Yarn have had a good conversation on Discord.
Yarn talking a lot is usually a negative.
Well, that was all the questions for the lightning round.
Yep.
That's great. All right, so let's fast forward 3 years. What do you imagine Pantheon to have evolved into, game-wise?
Released.
Wow.
A playable game?
That's
Great answer,
a fair
buddy.
answer.
Yep,
That is
that's
a fair answer. Yeah.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. Released.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we've already talked about this off air, but Pantheon has become the term that the community uses for, the meetups and everything with the devs. And it does fit, it suits it, right? And it's catchy. Do you think that Pantheon events could become like a global thing, similar to like SOE Live or BlizzCon, or would you like to even see that happen?
I would love to see that happen. I love me a good convention or gathering.
Cool.
Okay, that's it. Bye.
It's just like yeah. I'll even cosplay it if you want me to.
Oh, you guys are still here?
Yes, we're still here.
Okay, we're done. Have a good night, everybody. I'm not asking.
Hey, well,
I'm on strike.
so I'll ask you then.
No,
and it's on
we're
chat.
on strike. We're done.
Who is the VoT host with the most?
I'll give this one to Lexer.
There you go, Lex. There
You're
you
feeling
go.
sorry for him. You're feeling sorry for him. That's all I can say.
See now, I don't feel confident in your answer after the lightning round.
Right, so that's basically our portion of the interview. So now what we'll do is I'm going to scroll back up here to
Right, I've got the questions actually.
Oh, you got the questions. Okay then. So
Yeah.
Josh has the questions.
All right, so Omeg93 says, seeing the success with classic WoW, does it affect how you look at old school MMOs?
Not really. I mean, yeah, I mean, it just. I have some very dear memories of old school MMOs, and I think if more people are able to experience that, the better. Because MMOs a decade ago were definitely, or even longer than that, were definitely a lot better than they are now. So.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Baron636 asks, would you agree that racial traits should be seen as a persistent design choice in the long run, or would you be okay with it being a fun factor just at the start?
Well, like I said, I think they should make more of a difference in the beginning than they do later down the line. But yeah, I mean, it's just I think they do add an element that can really create some good strategy and some good gameplay and everything of that sort. So especially when it comes to those early levels when you're learning your class and everything, it kind of. So
I also think it can't be to the detriment of other places. Why they failed in their designs, to be honest. Right, so Nonfixian 3.
Shy, you sound kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm a bit deep tonight. Sorry. This microphone. This Nonfixian 3 says, geez, all of these guys have grey hair. Is that the targeted audience for Pantheon? Targeted audience for Pantheon?
I was born, actually, right? I was born with grey hair, literally. I've had a grey patch ever since I was born at the back of my head. And I tell you what, having grey hair, like Josh, like myself, at this age, that hair will never fall out. We will always have this on the top of our head.
We won't get bored, that's for sure.
There's only one place. There's only one place I got gray hair, and all I can say is, "Why are you looking down there?"
Mine is mostly just right here. My hair seems to be getting more red the older I get.
That must be the Scottish side of you.
Right, so Baron636 again asks, should you have travelled all across Terminus before you reach endgame, or would you be okay reaching endgame without being sent all over the place?
I think going all over the place is beneficial because it allows for more exploration. It allows you to see more of the world, all the designs they put into it, and everything. I'm a big fan of traveling. I think it also depends on how they make you travel, because if they just want you to go like a map over and kill two of something and return, that's not very exciting.
Yeah.
But if you're able to get more immersed with the lore, I think that's a great way to get people out in the travel. And if you could mix that into getting them to end game, I think that'd be even better.
Yeah, just imagine that. Some of those quests actually made me always think, like, I dropped my bag way across the pond in distant lands. Can you go pick it up? Dude, really?
Yeah.
Why didn't you seek refuge in the nearest town there and then pick it up yourself? Just to send me, miles and miles across the river or the pond or whatever, or the ocean, to go to this distant land to pick up some stupid bag.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do
Especially for like 50 gil. That's all they ever do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Gold. I'm sorry. I'm in Final Fantasy. Gil. No, it's gold.
Monies.
It's monies, yes. Fake monies. Again, Baron 636. Do you think that the slower pace of progression VR is announcing could harm the perception mechanic because you might not get as far with your ults compared to how far you got with your main? I'm not too sure how that is.
Yeah, like the slower progression. Just, I'm a fan of slower progression because I have a lot of really great memories of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, slower progression's fine because I could space things out a little bit. I mean, but
it shouldn't.
I guess I don't really understand.
It shouldn't affect the perception system at all.
Yeah,
you do have perception throughout the world that are linked to objects, but perception in general is going to be a random thing as well. It's going to be based on your class, on your race, on your skill. It's going to have an influence of your keeper, so it's not necessarily going to have any impact with the whole design of the slow process of the game. That will not have any influence whatsoever on ults or your main, I think, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
I do love slow progression though.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So last question overall from Baron 636 as well. Would you enjoy crafting actual coins in Pantheon? Faction coins, coin bundles, or actual gold pieces?
I don't think you should be able to fabricate money. I think that's like
forgery.
Well, forgery, and also takes the of like, why would you craft anything else?
That would be a cool thing. Just I mean, like if you could, I
mean, if you could craft like decorative coinage, I think that would be interesting. But if you're being able to print money, I mean, it'd be great for controlling RMT. But yeah, it's like why would you craft anything else?
Exactly.
So
have a rogue pickpocket you though. That's
break into someone's house and just take all their chips.
Yeah, exactly. You know. So. This brings us to the end of the show, and Mike, it's been a pleasure having you on. It was great to sit down with you.
It's been fun.
Next week we will be sitting down with, get the name right. Where is it?
Preparation.
Hey, I said I'm going to put that on as soon as I got. I think Buzz Bonson is what we're sitting down with next to talk some Pantheon and see what gets him ticking and what he likes, dislikes, and what he would like to see. So that's going to be happening next week, and we hope you all have a fantastic rest of the weekend, and we will see you all.
Unless you're a paladin, in which case have a miserable weekend.
Yeah, have a miserable weekend. And,
or a human.
We're sorry.
Or a human.
Lecture,
if you're a human, you suck!
Lecture loves paladins, so, you know, it's all good. I have proof as well, if you want to see that video. So with that,
take care, everyone.
I keep telling you, man, CG does some amazing things.
And if I'm not mistaken, Shy should be back next week, so the wonderful Shy will be back in the house. Keeping us tame and in place and in check. So, boys, it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah.
But
back to the old ball and
the
chain.
mistress is back. Have a great weekend.
My nip slips.
Rolling out.
All right, guys. Cheers.